Today we are checking in with another racing driver, our second racing driver of the check-in. This one though is a little bit different. Mia Flewitt is about to start her first British GT Championship series, a little later than planned because this is 2020. Mia, thank you so much for speaking to us. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Yeah, very excited. This is race week, so yeah, really looking forward to it.
This is going to be your first British GT Championship. Like everything else this year, the start of the season has been pushed back because of the coronavirus outbreak. Has it been a long wait to get back to being race week?
Very, very long. It's ultimately what we want to do as racing drivers is race. So yeah, it feels like a very long wait. I did my last race in December last year. So yeah, it's been quite a long time.
It's been perhaps, arguably a long wait for you to get to this point to start with. As someone in their 50s, you're 50 years old, about to do your first British GT Championship. So often we see racing drivers coming through now that are so young. Can you just tell us and describe your racing journey up to this point?
I've worked with cars all my life, literally. I started working for Volvo back home in Sweden when I was 19 years old, and held different positions within Volvo, including actually building cars. I always wanted to race. I was like this person that, on the first day I was allowed to have a driving license, I was, signing up for my test and passed my test. And then through my work, basically first with Volvo and then actually through a joint venture with Tom Walkinshaw Racing from the UK, got quite interested in racing and everything, was never able to afford it, unfortunately. So it kind of turned into this hobby of my husband and I to restore some historic cars. So we decided that as a hobby together, something we could share together, we would go and get our race licenses, which we did. And I was 44 years old and absolutely loved it, and thought, finally I'm doing this and I could afford historic racing. And 2 years later I was doing my first ever GT race. So yeah, it's been quite a journey, different to many people, obviously. Like you say, I never did karting, I never did any of that. I just went straight into cars, but I love it. Wake up every morning wanting to go racing.
It's quite a jump, isn't it, going from, racing sort of historic cars to GT, and that was only a 2-year period in which you made that change. So what led to you going from driving those restored cars that you've lovingly put back together to jumping in a GT car? Because that's not necessarily a kind of quote unquote normal route.
No, it wasn't a normal route. I did a track day actually with McLaren, and had a driver coach with me in the car, in a road car, not in a race car or anything, in a road car. I did 3 laps and came back in, and the guy said, have you ever thought about racing? And I said, oh yeah, I'm just about going racing in these historics. And he said, well, no, I mean, properly racing. And I'm like, yeah, I'd love to. And he said, well, I think you really should. He said, you got this feel for the car, and I can feel that what's about to happen. And, you're a little bit mad, which you have to be if you're going to be a racing driver. I built on that with a Performance Academy course with McLaren, first in road cars, then in track cars. There was like a trial race almost for the pure McLaren GT series in September 2017 at Paul Ricard. And I entered that, came 4th, and I was incredibly frustrated because I really wanted to win. But that was like kind of fueled my passion for racing. And the year after, I was in my first sort of full season GT racing. It's all happened in the last few years.
Yeah, I mean, you won that pure McLaren GT series twice, which has led to this step up now to the British GT series. Motor racing is still, at every level, a male-dominated sport. What's the reaction to you been, especially when, you enter the pure McLaren series and you're winning back-to-back championships? How have you been received in the paddock?
Actually, I got to say, I've had only positive reactions, because I think, in a way, we all, as racing drivers, we all respect each other, and we have to respect each other when we're on track. I've never really had this sort of struggle. There's a lot of banter, obviously, and, jokes about, being a female and she's winning again, or, it's something like that. But jokey banter. I've never really had a bad experience. And And it's one of the things I really love about motorsport, I got to say. It's actually, I know it's not very diverse. You know, there isn't so many women, or, you know, whether you take, you know, gender, or you take race, or you take anything like that. But I love the fact that this is actually a sport where you can compete on equal terms, because, you know, once you're in a race car, the car doesn't know whether you're male, female, you know, or whatever race or anything like that. So, and there's not that many sports where you can do that, because you can't maybe physically do it, or you can't physically hit a tennis ball as hard as a man, or, you know, so there's lots of sports where this isn't possible. And I like, you know, I like the idea that this is, you know, you put your helmet on and it really doesn't matter who you are, how old you are even, or, you know, anything like that. And that we should celebrate that motorsport is that kind of sport.
Do you think we are starting to see that change, at least in terms of gender, with, you know, the likes of the W Series, and like you say, it is a sport where there is no reason that women can't compete at an equal level? Do you think we're starting to see real change there, and we are going to see more female drivers coming through?
There is already quite a few females racing all over the world, you know, at really high levels. We focus quite a lot maybe on Formula One. We want to see a female in Formula One. But I'm really a strong believer in, like, you know, the right person for the right job. And when we're ready, we'll be in Formula One too. You know, it's sort of but obviously seeing, you know, I've also started karting now and going there, and I'm seeing loads of girls in the paddock who are, you know, starting their journey to become, you know, racing drivers. It needs to come from the, you know, from a young age, and obviously it's kind of natural. Because I say to my mum sometimes, I go like, hey mum, why didn't you take me to a racetrack when I was 5 years old? And she's like, I didn't even know about racetracks. You know what I mean? It's sort of, so it's not always just because you're a boy or a girl when you're young, when you're coming through. You know, that's kind of what I want to do as well. I want to make sure that people feel inspired, not just boys, girls or whatever, but like everybody feels inspired that actually you can do this, and you can, if I can do it, you know, at my age, you know, being female, it kind of doesn't matter. But I think some people just think, oh, I probably couldn't do that because, you know, I'm this or I'm that or whatever. But actually you can. I have a journey as well to make sure I stay fit and things. Obviously I race against 18, 20-year-old young men who believe they are invincible. And obviously I've got a little bit more life experience, I guess. I know I'm not. I really hope that everything we do, and the more women that's seen in the public, you know, doing these things and, you know, going for it, I think that will just inspire, you know, people to go for it.
Yeah, I mean, your story certainly is pretty inspirational. I'm intrigued as well, if you've now just started karting, you've basically done it completely backwards from everyone else, because usually that's how you get going.
I know. I mean, completely crazy. And I'm still trying to get to grips with it, I got to say. It's like, first time I got in one, I'm thinking, my goodness, this is just crazy. I'm not sure I'll ever catch my co-driver, Ewan Hankey, in a kart, but, you know, I'm doing my very best each time. And we've actually, for the last sort of 6-8 weeks since we were able to get back on track, we have, if we haven't been testing, we have been karting every week together, so that we can, so we sort of really feel like a team already, you know. So when we arrive at race week this weekend, we're already feel like, you know, we've been working together, you know, every week.
What is your goal for the season and your motor racing goal overall? What do you hope to achieve?
So when we started this season, we thought we were a very good pro-am pairing. So obviously with my driver coach now as my co-driver, you know, we've been working together for the past 2 years. So, you know, we've already won 2 championships together. But the one thing we noticed is that we are now the only pro-am entry. So that means there isn't technically a pro-am championship. So we are having to race against all the other GT4 cars are technically pros. So they are what we call silver drivers. So they're young professional drivers. So that means, like, basically as an AM, I have to always race and measure myself against the pros, which will obviously puts a different kind of spin on things. But we were talking about it, me and my co-driver Ewan, and just saying, this is a challenge then. This is what we've got to do. We've got to take it to the silver drivers, and we all love a challenge, and this is quite a big challenge. So we're excited to do that. And then going forward, next year, I'm very much hoping to be in a GT3 car, having done this is my third season in a McLaren GT4. But at the moment, focus is sort of 100% on this GT4 championship in British GT.
With the sort of difficulties, I suppose, that you had in funding a race career in the early days, is there a way forward, you think, to make motor racing more accessible to young people that want to get involved? Because that is still the biggest barrier, isn't it, really, is that it's a very expensive sport to be involved with?
Yeah, I can see that, that was obviously one of the reasons they brought in the W series and these sort of things, to allow women to get a chance to get on the ladder of, getting to Formula One, because obviously that is phenomenally expensive. But even at, quite sort of grassroots level, if you're coming through from karting as well, just talking to the guy who runs the kart that I use, it's, the costs are just, crazy. And you think like, this is just, it's not, because it's amazing. Karting is just, I so admire the people who can do that really fast, because I want to do that. But I can also see why, because, everything that we do and the cars that we race and how many people you need in a team to kind of do it. So it's kind of hard to see how it could be a lot cheaper. So I don't know, for women in particular, I think I've been very fortunate with my partners, and because I don't have a manager or an agent or anything like that. I've sourced all my sponsorship and partners on my own. I wish I had a magic wand and I can make it cheaper.
A magic money tree for racing
drivers.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, finally then, we're a few days from the first race of the season, later than planned, but it's happening nonetheless. Can you sum up your overriding emotion ahead of getting into that car for the first time this weekend?
Excitement. I am so excited. Like last night, I couldn't really sleep, and all I think about is like, I picture in my head, I'm driving a track, I'm doing corner by corner, and it's just all that's on my mind. Like it will be the same for all of us who are due to race there this weekend. And, we're all looking at weather forecasts, we're all doing this, and, and kind of, what can we expect? And then it's also the first national championship to happen in the UK after the lockdown. So I guess all eyes are on, how's it going to work? How's it going to work in the pits and paddock? Media are not allowed. Spectators are allowed, but not in the pits and paddocks. And how's it all going to work? How's it going to feel? How are we going to interact with people? So I guess we're all like, thinking, how's it all going to be? How's it all going to feel when we're there? But I think once you're there and we're racing, we're all going to be focused on what we're doing. But yeah, we still want to feel like we're sharing it, with the fans if we can.
I'm sure you'll find a way. That's what social media is, a wonderful thing, isn't it? It can give you a front seat to being there. Well, look, Mia, it's been brilliant to speak to you. Best of luck for the opening round of racing, and do try and get some sleep between now and then, or you might not be as sharp as you want to be.
I will. Thank you so much. Thank you.